But I really just suddenly felt the need to do this, and I mean, it's not exactly so sudden. Ever since all of this happened, I felt like I've not had a voice, and I've not processed it. I've not processed a lot of things, but I've definitely not, you know, this is one thing I haven't processed, and it's a hard situation to make coherent because it's a lot of a mess, and this is real life, as Crazy Ex-Girlfriend says. Life doesn't make narrative sense. Basically, this is like the first time I'm gonna go through this whole story, including anything that I remember and believe to be relevant. I'm going to change everyone's names apart from obviously mine, Fabian's, because that doesn't even make sense to change, and it's obvious. It's Fabian, is my partner. I've changed names based on like gender, just pick the same kind of gendered names of what people's genders actually are, or I think they are, because obviously, I mean, some people might be closeted, or I just don't know, because most of these people I do not interact with anymore, and there might be no point in changing anyone's names. I don't, like, I feel like I'd have to get everyone's permission, which I'm certainly not getting one person's permission. I do not mind any of the people that think they may be mentioned, or know that they're mentioned, messaging me about any of it. Well, apart from one person, but I think you'll tell who that person is. I will only go into the details of ones that happened after said relationship actually ended, because the abuse did not end with the relationship. I've actually changed my mind about this. There was a lot more that I found, mainly from going through my diary. The Ask FM and the text messages that I get into are all post breakup, so just my diary. I don't know why I said mainly my diary, but there were some things that came up. Also I was very wrong about timings and shit, which I will get into later. Like very wrong. But yeah, so I'm not entirely decided what things I want to leave out. I mainly, when I talk about that, I'm talking about, do I want to include anything about the two big instances that I bring up? I'm not sure. One, I definitely, like the worst one, I don't want to get into, and I'm not going to. The other instance that I actually was wrong about the timing of, this actually happened way before I thought it happened, like the wrong year, kind of way before. I don't know if I want to get into that, but I at least, if I don't get into it about what it was, I will at least share the date. Yeah, because I think that definitely adds context, if you see the dates of everything that happened and showed that this actually happened way before this whole thing started. This abuse, it happened before that, and I think that's very important to show the state of mind that I was and why I acted the way I did. Basically, yeah, I've changed my mind, and you might have seen that there is going to be a section of this video talking about all the abuse and toxic things and just kind of off things that happened in our relationship, mainly because it's all way too confusing and hard to really label exactly. Like, the timeline would be way too confusing, so just know that throughout this whole video, basically, it was an abusive relationship. I was wrong about it only being, like, after me coming out to him, but it happened throughout the whole relationship, and I did not know this until I did this project. The majority of the stuff that is in that section, I do not remember. And that's sad, because that means I suppressed it. Like, I didn't see it as a problem enough to remember, which is, I think, the majority of it. And that's sad. One, this is all from my memory. I remember a lot of this very vividly, but there might be some things that I get wrong. I think it's not, I don't think it's likely that I'll get things wrong, but I think there'll be things that I might not remember. I do not exactly remember. I very vividly remembered them, the cases of abuse inside the relationship, but I do not remember when. There was some sort of timescale that I know that they definitely happened in that time period.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
It is very important to the story that you also keep in mind that though I did not know this at the time, that I was going through severe emotional abuse and also neglect at home, and I feel like that's also a very important thing to acknowledge. Hi, editing Honor here. Any videos from my phone is going to be editing Honor, so I don't have to say that every time, because I'm going to keep doing this. Please, and when I say please, I mean just don't do this. Don't diagnose who I'm going to call Max, which is my abuser, or like my other abuser. I don't know why he comes into it a little bit, but yeah, do not diagnose so-called Max, which is not actually called Max. This also includes words like narcissism or psycho or anything like that, or psychotic or psychopath or sociopath, anything. Don't diagnose him. I don't care about respecting him because he's an abuser, and a lot of other words as well, but it shows a lack of respect to me and mental illnesses in general. Please don't do it. Thank you. I'm not sure that I'm gonna get everything. I'm very anxious that I missed things, especially because when I went through messages, I hadn't decided to go through my diary first, and I wish I'd gone through my diary first, because a lot of those messages were very hard to go through and understand, and there was a lot of phone calls in between, and it was just a load of mess. And I think if I'd done the diary first, I also would have been in a better state of mind to be able to process it, because I'd already gone through the diary. But yeah, so I feel like I've missed things, and maybe, you know, there'll be things missing, and it's all really fucking confusing. You might be able to see that. I've tried to make it as least confusing as I possibly can, but I don't know how hard I can hide, like, or not hide the confusingness, but make it less confusing. So yeah, so I don't know if I've got everything. Not everything I mention that this, you know, Max did to me, said to me, whatever, not everything I mention is going to necessarily have been abusive or toxic. It might have been an unreasonable response to the situation. I'm mentioning it because it affected my mental health. So it's like, unless I'm like actually labeling something as abusive, toxic, manipulative, you know, those kind of things, unless I'm labeling it that, don't think I'm like, you know, just because I mentioned something and it's like a reasonable response, and think, oh, Anna's claiming that that's abusive, and it's not. I'm not claiming. I'm just, when I'm mentioning things and I'm talking about the effect that it had, I'm just bringing it up because of that. I'm not necessarily saying that Max responded in a bad way, or a way that, like, you shouldn't act, because, you know, in some of these situations there isn't really a way to react. But yeah, so I just wanted to put that as well, because yeah, they were abusive, but abuser's not always gonna, necessarily every single thing they do is abusive, but a lot of them are. Yeah. I'm not saying that anyone that I mentioned in this video is exactly the same as they were then. Obviously they're probably not. That's the thing, time has passed a lot of time actually, and even my abuser may be better now. I hope they are, because you know, he's with somebody else, that I've noticed, and that makes me anxious. But I at least hope for that person that he is better. And yeah, so I don't know how people are now. I also want to say I don't even really know the purpose of this video. I think it just needed to process it all. I needed to be heard. Also, do not attack anyone that I mentioned in this video for ethical reasons, but also for my safety. I guess it starts when I went to LGBT plus group for the first time. And that is where I met Max. Not actually called Max, but again, I'm not gonna say that every time, but that's where I met Max. And I invited him to my birthday party, which was a week later, because well, I was 16 years old. Well, literally just turned then, or just turning at that point. He asked me out and we started going out. And it was a very quick relationship. You know, we'd said, you know, we said I love you within a month. Which I don't think was deliberate. I mean, that happens a lot with abusive relationships, they go fast, but I don't think it was deliberate. I think that was just the fact that we were both 16. You know, in the early stages of a relationship, there were some red flags.
Honey?
Boundary crossing and, you know, general lack of, like, compassion. I guess lack of, there was, lack of gratefulness. They weren't very nice. And I didn't see it. But yeah, we spent a lot of time together and things, and I met my current partner Fabian a few months into a relationship with Max, probably, and this was when we'd just moved into 5th year in high school. I met Fabian and thought he was very funny, but nothing much there. Because at the time I you know, was a gay woman, and so and I generally I mean, I don't necessarily know about the woman part. Well, I more should say I don't necessarily know about the girl part, because I definitely wasn't a woman. I was 16 years old. But you know, now I'm not so sure about that part, but I was definitely, in regards to the sexuality and romantic orientation, I did not experience any genuine feelings for anyone that at least I didn't perceive as a girl. Nothing much happened for a long time. Me and Fabian grew closer because we were put in the same group in drama. Apart from me noticing that Fabian had a crush on me. But then it was during that time that I just suddenly realised I had a crush on Fabian. And I remember the moment very, very vividly. And it was just like it just felt weird. Like, I feel like, you know, I have at least a similar philosophy now. Is it snowing? No. I thought I saw at least like one snowflake there. Oh, it's Blossom. I had like I know this philosophy that I was probably not 100%, you know. So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't exactly like a completely foreign idea, but just the fact that I was experiencing it was still weird, and it wasn't like, it wasn't bad weird at this point. It was just like a, oh, that's weird and that's new. And it wasn't anything at first. It was just a little crush. But then it just very quickly developed. And I realised this is how quickly, right? So I realised, I think it was in December of 2012. I know I knew it. I think it was like the 13th of something. Or the 13th or something, I mean. It was definitely December. Despite, for literally years thinking it was December 2012, it was actually specifically the 8th of November 2012. And because I went through my diary, and so, yeah, so, that just makes me want to go for my whole diary, which I don't know if that would be a good idea.
Honey.
But yeah, it's also a bit awkward. But anyway, yeah, it was the 8th of November. I was wrong all this time. I was very much wrong. I love how I'm like in the video. It was definitely December. And then, you know, very close to Christmas, right before we were gonna go off for the break, I remember, it's developed that quickly that he'd taken drama off to do the Christmas, the deal with the Christmas musical show or something that the school was doing, and I very quickly volunteered because I wanted to spend time with him. I started to feel guilty, and it was only a crush and it was very innocent. But I started to feel guilty, the fact that I wasn't telling Max about this. Because I used to tell him when I'd see, like, a woman on the street that I would tell him that. Very open about crushes, and things like that. But this one, I was anxious about it, but also because I'd started to develop this friendship with Fabian, I wanted Max to meet Fabian before I told him that I had a crush on Fabian, because I didn't want that to like ruin it. It felt important because Fabian had become a friend, and I didn't want, my partner to be at odds with one of my friends. I mean, I wanted to have a party anyway because it was an end of the world party. This was 2012, okay? This was December 2012. We all thought the world was gonna end. So I had an end of the world party when the world was supposed to end. Instead, it ended in 2020. Well, actually 2019. Really kicked into effect 2020. But yeah, so I had an end of the world party. Max and Fabian were gonna meet, so that I could, then tell Max. I was gonna tell Max after the party about the crush, and I felt like that'd be a great idea. But then Fabian didn't show. And I was like, fuck. So I just told Max anyway, because the guilt was too much. And because I'm not entirely sure about the timing of the abuse in the relationship, I'm not entirely sure when it started, but I know at least one of them started after that Christmas time, because Max used one of his presents that he gave me. So that one incident definitely happened between Christmas and the time that our relationship ended. So after I told Max about my crush on Fabian, I am not sure about any other instances. There's at least two, including the one I've already implied about, that are, you know, big instances of abuse. But there was also a lot of pressuring. Yeah, but I don't know when the other big instance of abuse happened, when the pressuring happened, but I feel like they all happened around about the same time. You know, not too far apart. That's just based on feeling.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
And so I feel like this was the turning point when I told Max about my feelings for Fabian. At this point, I identified myself as probably being biromantic. They were uncomfortable with it, to say the least. They kept bringing Fabian up, mocking him for, I mean, Max literally knew nothing about Fabian. So it wasn't based on literally anything. It was the most stupidish, I'm sorry, I need to stop saying the word stupid, but it was the most elitist mocks, like snobby mocks, based on nothing. Remember, Fabian was my friend, so it hurt a lot, and this was always unprovoked. I would never bring up Fabian after the time I told them. Max, yeah, I think would mock Fabian for like cutting peppers wrong or something. They were very fucking weirdly, grossly snobby about cooking. Which, you know, still affects me to this day. So Max was a huge snob and just a general asshole. Even outside of being an abuser. And other words. Yeah, I think Max would mock Fabian, speculating that he didn't know how to chop peppers properly or something, which, one, who cares, but also Fabian's a very fast chopper of peppers. A very fast and efficient chopper of peppers. Hello. So I also told Katie at the roundabout not far after Max about being biromantic and maybe also feelings for Fabian. I'm not sure about that part, but definitely about the being biromantic part, because Katie remembers this and it was in my diary and I didn't know about that. I've forgotten. So while I was having a relationship with Max, my feelings for Fabian grew and grew and grew. And it all like just went worse, so much worse, when something happened with my friend Penny and Fabian. I get a message from Penny, and this was about like early February time, so now it's 2013. And Penny messages me, basically saying that they have something to say, and I think because I was the only one that got back fast, I was the only one that was told this, because after I was told, Penny decided, or maybe Penny and Fabian decided to keep it secret, I don't know. But anyway, Penny told me that I think Fabian asked her out and she had said yes. And it was at this point that honestly my depression started, and I realised, I don't know when it happened, but I realised at that point that I was in love with Fabian. It was not just a crush, it was love. And it was around this point, and by the way, Penny, no one knew I had a crush on Fabian apart from Max, which, not good. And not good. I should have opened up to somebody else as well, because the only person that knew was wrong. Couldn't talk to them about it because they were Max and I was in a relationship with them, and also they were abusive. I didn't recognize that, but yeah. They'd also told their friend Trent. Trent, lovely guy. They're very lovely, and they don't know anything about what Max did. But yeah, I think Max told Trent as well. Obviously couldn't also, even though regardless Trent was lovely, but I obviously couldn't talk to Trent about it either because he was Max's best friend. So yeah, so I should have told somebody else, but regardless, Penny didn't know. That's the important part in this part. Penny didn't know. Penny is not at fault for this at all. So not necessarily that, you know, I mean, I don't know. I guess if you know that your friend is in love with somebody, you should probably not say yes if you're asked that by that somebody, but Penny didn't know, so that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant, I should say. So Penny and Fabian started going out, but secretly, and I was literally the only person that knew, at least as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person Penny told. I don't think Fabian told anyone, so I think I was literally the only person that knew. And I was not doing well. I was not doing well during this part. You know, any of these parts, this is, you know, as soon as I told Max all of this, I was not doing well. I was very depressed. And I was not doing well. And because I was the only one that Penny told, Penny obviously wanted to talk to me about literally every single detail about the relationship. And it was like so bad that I was like trying to avoid like Penny at points. Even though Penny was a very close friend, I'd like, you know, we had Reggie together, and then I would like lie about where I was going to go the opposite way, just so that I didn't hear about Penny talking about Fabian, and you know, their relationship. And during this point, I had so much guilt for, like so much I felt. And really, all I had done, was have feelings. You can't help having feelings. You can't help who you're in love with. You can't help who you have a crush on. I had not done a single thing, but I felt so fucking guilty because I felt guilty about Max, because I was like, I love Max. And sorry, I just realised the only Max I know of is from EastEnders, and Max, which is my abuser.
It's not what it looks like.
I wish I didn't choose the name Max. Anyway, so I was like, I love Max, I feel guilty about being in love with someone else, and then I also felt guilty with Penny because fuck, I'm in love with one of my close friends' boyfriends. That is not good. I'm a terrible person. Even though I was clearly in love with him before. I just realised when they got together, but I was in love with him before. And also, like, it's just, I mean, also, you can't help your feelings. So even if they'd gotten together and then I got feelings for Fabian, I still wouldn't be in the wrong there, because you can't help your feelings. It's not like I would have chose that, but that's not even what happened. The feelings were before. But I felt bad. I felt so fucking bad, and I also felt bad for avoiding Penny because I couldn't deal hearing about it. And I don't even remember why, but I also felt bad in regards, I felt guilty in regards to Fabian himself. And I honestly do not remember why. I think it was just so much self-hatred and guilt that I was feeling guilty about everyone. I think it was just because I was, you know, by my feelings and everything and all the mess of the situation, I was like dragging him into the situation. Like, and also the fact that I was worried he'd like find out I had feelings for him, and then like, because I, you know, thought and was right that he had feelings for me, I was worried he'd find out I had feelings for him, and then it would be like almost leading him on, even though it's not really leading him on, but you know what I mean, like it was just a huge big mess, and it's almost like I didn't really want to question being with anyone else but Max as well. So I don't know if I'd even sat down and really made myself think about it, if I would have not wanted to be with Fabian at that point. I'm not sure. I don't know, but anyway. So Fabian and Penny are together. I thought I brought this up, but apparently I didn't. So, at this point also, when they just got together, I told my friend Irene that I was biromantic and that I had a crush on someone, and that it was Penny's secret boyfriend. And so then when Irene found out and figured out that Fabian was Penny's secret boyfriend, then, obviously Irene knew, and so I was able to talk about it with Irene, and that was helpful, because that was the first person I was able to at least properly talk about it, because obviously now I know that Katie knew I was biromantic, but I don't really think we properly talked about it, or all this stuff about Fabian. At least it was kind of like I was going through it on my own. If I told Katie, I don't know why I didn't talk about it with Katie. But anyway, regardless. Wait, I might have actually said one of the real names there. Irene was the first person outside of Max that I told. I also actually, I've forgotten this, and I think the other person has forgotten this too, but according to my diary, I also told Jane about being biromantic, which definitely not the crush on Fabian. I'm pretty damn sure I didn't do that. But according to my diary, I told Jane about being biromantic. And they were together, I think, for a few weeks or something. It wasn't very long. But, you know, I remember Penny telling me that Fabian had said, "I love you," and I fucking freaked out, and I was just, everything about that was just so awful. They eventually revealed to people that they were in a relationship. It was, and then they also broke up because Fabian had a friend at this point. But this happened when you know, Penny and Fabian's relationship was revealed, and Penny ended up dumping Fabian because of this, but then they ended up getting back together. Yeah, it was but then it was very short-lived. Regardless, I think Penny just didn't actually want to. I don't know, regardless. But during this relationship that Fabian and Penny had, there was like 2 instances where they were friends. I mean, they also both kind of became friends with me later. Kind of-ish friends. But at this point, they were just Fabian's friends. And they called John and Brendan. I mean, they're not called John and Brendan. But, yeah, so John and Brendan, I actually, on separate occasions, nearly told them. Brendan, because I was walking out in this big group that included Fabian and Penny, and I saw them kiss, and then, you know, they'd walked away with most of the group down because Fabian was going to Penny's house. And me and Brendan were going the opposite way, so we left together and it was only us. And because I was obviously devastated and just seen Fabian and Penny make out, and I was just freaking out and stuff, I very nearly told Brendan, which would have been interesting. I don't know what Brendan would have done. Then another moment, I nearly told John, who was a separate friend of Fabian's, and that was because me and John were like sitting talking, and that's when Fabian and Penny got back together, and you know, Fabian came in all excited going to his friends, obviously bar John because John was sitting talking to me, and so I saw, you know, Fabian go excited, just gotten back, and I saw Penny walking to her friends, obviously bar me, because again I was sitting talking with John, and I was just really upset, and I nearly told John, and again I wonder what would have happened. So yeah, so then Fabian and Penny, they break up very quickly after they got back together, and then it was just a long period after that of getting closer and closer to Fabian, obviously just in a friendship way, and just being so depressed and guilty. So at this point, at first I wasn't keeping it a secret, I just wasn't saying that I, you know, had been experiencing, you know, at least biromanticism. But then, you know, people started referring to me as gay and not liking men in any way, or boys in any way, because we were all 16. And I was pushed into the closet again because of all my guilt. I didn't want that. I felt like I couldn't say, especially because I felt like it would have been obvious if I was not out as a gay girl that I was into Fabian. It would have been obvious. It probably was obvious anyway, but I felt like I couldn't come out. But it was around about this time point, maybe mid to late March, that I was really struggling being in the closet again. It's really fucking awful being in the closet, and it was bad the first time, but literally every other time it's happened like after that has been fucking atrocious. Like, that's why, like, when I come out online, like every fucking time, it's because it's so fucking awful. I hate coming out, and it never stops, literally, like, because someone will not know. regardless of how public you make it, and it's fucking awful. It's a constant thing of coming out with any queer identity, and it's just, and I was just so much struggling with being in the closet again because it's fucking awful. Like, it's so bad, especially having had like the experience of being out for like a year, and then suddenly I'm not anymore. Like, that was awful. I didn't want to do another coming out. I didn't, and so I wanted to just like be a casual thing. So I changed my Facebook like interested in to men and women, and I decided if my sexuality ever comes up, which it often did, I would just correct people. I would say, actually, now also I'm biromantic. And yeah, my sexuality came up after that. But literally, it like stopped coming out in the way that I could correct it.
You're a queen.
It was like people knew and they deliberately didn't bring it up like they used to. It would always just me being attracted to like girls and women, which wasn't a thing to correct. Like, and it was so frustrating. And then the one fucking single time that it came up, it was like, you know, me and Fabian cuddling or something, we were hugging, and this person joking, oh, remember Fabian, that Honor is gay. And I was like, well, I can't correct it now. That was the one chance, the only chance that came up the whole time I was doing that approach. And I'm just so, that was just so frustrating.
You know, it's amazing. You are 100% wrong.
And that was it. So I tried coming out, I tried doing it casual, but I couldn't because no one brought it up, and fuck you, no, I'm joking. And I don't think anything else happened until, I guess, my birthday, because on my birthday I nearly kissed Fabian. Like, because we were again having a children drama. Those happened a lot. I don't know, we were never taught anything. I was just very much in love and struggling at the time, and yeah, I almost kissed Fabian, but I didn't. And this has actually ended up being me and Max's anniversary, so I guess that would have been made everything worse, but I guess the next relevant thing is my birthday party, which happens the next again day. So no, because on my birthday Max came into school and met Fabian for the first time, and that was fucking anxious. So that's definitely the next relevant part of the story. Thankfully Max was polite, at least, because Max was a terrible person. Max would just generally be like if Max didn't like you, you knew, and they were really mean to you. Like, they were more like, I guess, glary. So I was like, just be polite to people. I mean, if people aren't polite to you, you don't have to be polite back, but you should be polite to people. So thankfully they were polite, at least. He was polite to Fabian. And I had actually, like, at that moment, run to go get my stuff because I did not want to be there. And I just looked over and saw them meeting, and I was like, my heart was beating so fast. My birthday party, we all played Spin the Bottle, and Max okayed me playing Spin the Bottle with Fabian in the circle. I want to reiterate that, because then they got incredibly jealous and angry, and that's not cool. You don't okay something and then get, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, if you can't handle it, why did you okay it? Like, but anyway, so that's when me and Fabian had our first kiss. And our first, like, kiss, it was like peck kiss, we actually missed. And then, which was really cute and awkward because we were both nervous, so we missed each other's mouths. And then we changed it to we all changed it to making out, and that made me freak out even more because it was at that moment, and I didn't want to, I knew it, but I didn't want to admit it. It was that moment that I knew that Fabian was the one for me, and I was scared about that because that was scary, you know. I loved Max, and the idea of leaving Max was terrifying, you know. At certain moments I was like, I have to break up with Max, and then I fucking burst out into tears, like I can't. I have a lot of attachment issues as well, so I struggle to leave any relationship. Yeah, I fell into an even deeper depression because I couldn't shake this feeling that Fabian was the one I was meant to be with, and I knew what that meant. And it was just hard. It was really hard. And you know, in an ideal world, if there was no abuse happening, I would have had the strength to deal with that maturely, but obviously I didn't. I just freaked out, and I spent the next few weeks freaking out and keep going back and forth with whether to dump Max or not. And keep in mind, you know, while I'm telling this story, and this story has been linear of when things happened, at least, again, what I can, the general idea at least, generally did not, my mind did not know that the abuse was happening. Like when the instances were occurring, I felt it, but not up here. It wasn't going. And then as soon as they were over, it was like they never happened. Like, genuinely. I really repressed it. I never forgot them. It's very hard to explain. All that I could think of when I thought about my relationship with Max was just lots of love and the fact that, you know, at this time they were my best friend. He was my best friend. The honeymoon periods, you know, of the abuse cycle. I mean, our relationship didn't go through the abuse cycle. It was mainly all honeymoon and then suddenly abusive incident. Didn't go through the abuse cycle. You know, those two stages were definitely there. All I could think about was the honeymoon stages, which was most of the relationship. And it was difficult. Like, I'd already decided in my mind that Max was the one for me, and that, you know, like, I was arranging my future based on that. Very, very young to be doing that, you know, because I was 16/17, but I was, and so it was very, very hard, and I didn't do it. I never left that relationship. I was the one that was dumped. I mean, I chose not to go back to it, which is good, but I never left it. you know, I wasn't the one that dumped, that like the reason we broke up was not the abuse. And that's saddening. There was like a small moment of weakness. I was going through a lot, as you can tell. A lot. 2 abusive relationships at once, plus a lot of self-hatred, a lot of guilt. And that just does not make for good decisions. It does not. I'll tell you that. So I made a small mistake where me and Fabian were like a little bit romantic slash, I guess, like flirty. I don't know. It was just a little bit in text. For multiple reasons. One, regardless of the second reason, I had a lot of guilt and I needed to be honest. So I was going to be honest regardless. But also the second reason was that I ended up telling Max was because Max used to go through my phone, used to go through my messages, which is abusive. Yeah, not good. So, but I would have told anyway. It wasn't just the fact that Max would go through my messages, but I mean, without the first reason as well, there was that reason as well. So it was double reasons, but yeah, one of them would be the reason, at least. If I didn't have any guilt, it would be Max looking at my phone. If Max didn't look for my phone, it would be my guilt. So, I told him, and yeah, there was obviously a lot of hurt there. Which, I mean, I would only care about if they hadn't abused me. Don't abuse me and I won't cheat on you. I'm just going to say this here, though it's also relevant later, just remember that I said this. I didn't deliberately cheat as a punishment or anything. I didn't actually deliberately hurt Max at all, and not as a punishment or anything, and this is in regards to the cheating as well. Obviously, I'm not saying I didn't hurt him at all. I did. Yeah, but I didn't deliberately hurt him. I didn't do anything out of malice or to deliberately punish him for abusing me. I mean, that would be fine if I did. I'm just saying I didn't do that. It would be a bit unhealthy to deliberately cheat as punishment. I mean, if the person abused you, I don't really care that much. But also, you know, be safe. Doesn't sound like a very safe thing to do. But anyway, I didn't deliberately do it as a punishment. My thing here is basically just like, if you want somebody being loyal to you, you want somebody to be a good partner to you, just don't be surprised if somebody does something like that because you've broken them down with abuse. That's basically what I'm saying. Like, it was basically just the consequences of his actions, because he literally drove me mad that I didn't have much control over my it's not like I didn't have any control over my actions. It's just like, it's almost like I was emotionally drunk. I was literally mad. And I mean that in a literal sense, and not attacking myself or anything, but that's the truth. And so, of course, I'm going to do some things wrong. Yeah, so that's what I meant. I just thought I wanted to clarify that, because it makes it sound like I'm saying I deliberately cheated on Max because it was punishment. I didn't even acknowledge that it was an abusive relationship, so what would I think I was punishing him for? Do you know what I mean? If that's harsh, I don't care, because I don't care about being harsh to abusers. So yeah, because of that situation, I actually ended up telling my friend Diane. Again, not actually called Diane. I don't know why I have to keep fucking reiterating that. It's just weird calling these people these other names. This was also somebody that was in the same drama class. A lot of this whole story is in that drama class. A few weeks later, it was the 30th of April. You know, keep in mind everything that had been going on, and everything that had happened. If you knew everything that Lauren did, you would know why I'm being kind of harsh about them. Not relevant. And the point of this isn't to like expose people or anything. I mean, one, I've changed people's names, so you don't even know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so me, Fabian and Lauren, we all were, you know, walking, I mean, partly home together. It was like, so it was close to my bus stop kind of thing, and then I'd get on the bus and go home. So that was roughly where we all walked to, and then Lauren and Fabian would walk down to, I think it was Lauren's house they were going, I'm not sure, but they would walk down the road that was like next to the bus stop. So yeah, we all walked there together, and then Lauren continued on, and me and Fabian were hugging goodbye, because we used to hug for a very long time, so Lauren was like, just fuck it, I'll leave you both. And we ended up kissing, and that was a thing that I hated myself for a very long time, and everyone else did too. But yeah, so as soon as I left, literally as soon as I turned around and left, I was texting Max, like, I need to tell you about something, and I was like, instantly like, I need to, you know, take accountability for this and be honest about this and say all this and stuff. And I instantly felt guilty. Max wanted me to come over. I think he knew what I was gonna say. I told Max what happened. I think I answered some questions that Max had, and Max ended up breaking up with me. So this is going to be the most confusing and non-linear part of this video. I'm not going to go by how these events, like in order of these events happened, because I feel like that would be too confusing and we'd be going back to the same kind of behaviour again and again. I feel like it would be more coherent to do it based on like categories of things and like particular, again, like types of behaviour versus, you know, when they happened. I also want to get into the effect that it had on me. So the first things I want to get into are things that I'm not entirely sure what they would be classed as, but they're just like off things. Max made me bleed, and then it wasn't, I know that sounds bad, but it wasn't like, it was a thing. Anyway, that's not the part that's bad. It's the fact that, you know, he had my blood in his fingers and he decided to, without warning or my consent, lick my blood off his fingers. And added context is that I did and also still do have a fear of blood. It goes up and down. But yeah, I just, yeah. This one looks kind of a little bit hard to read, but hopefully you can see that it says that Max decided to fart on me. I went and I got a chippy, and it turned out that it was one of the chippies that is not, their chips are not vegetarian, which is, why did they do that? But anyway, he knew that before I ate it. And he let me eat it, and then after I'd eaten it, like the whole thing, he then decided to tell me it was not vegetarian. This was something that people did a lot. One minute they would say I was too quiet, and then anytime I got, you know, I was excited, I was suddenly too loud. Which is just, don't do that to people, that's mean. Like, but anyway, so yeah, he did that. He was rudely like, do you not understand the concept of being quiet? Which he knew I did, because like I just said, yeah. And yeah, it's just mean. It just shows what I was saying. He was a mean person. He put cum in my hair. I had a dream that I thought was sleep paralysis, but it actually wasn't. That Max assaulted me sexually and physically, and obviously I think this was probably my brain telling me that was happening. And when I woke up and I told Max about this, you know, so he could comfort me, and he also asked why I was upset, and he got really offended. Similar to the fake sleep paralysis dream reaction, even though this happened before, but I've just decided to put it in now, because it's the exact same thing. Really, it's not exactly the original action, but the reaction. He Dutch ovened me, which is just a rude thing to do to someone. But anyway, probably because I was in the middle of 2 abusive relationships, this panicked me. Suddenly, it wasn't the fart or being trapped in a fart, it was the suddenly being put under the covers that panicked me, and I panicked, and Max got annoyed at my reaction. This might be a bit of a jarring jump, though this section is probably filled with that. But I think next would probably make sense to go into pressuring of sex. Max guilted me, made me feel bad, you know, was like outwardly disappointed at me being on my period. You know, things that would, you know, guilt me for not having sex just because I'm on my period. Shaming me for not orgasming, which, I mean, just FYI, I don't think I said that right, but anyway, just in case you want to know, if you really want somebody to orgasm, shaming them for it, for not doing it, is like the opposite of what you want to do. I mean, you also probably shouldn't, you know, do shit like this because it's unethical, but this one is very confusing. So we'd literally like just stopped having sex, and he got upset at me about not having sex with him for weeks yeah, but also, if we've had, like, you don't have to be a bitch about it, like, just don't stop. People need to stop. No, you don't, your partner is not your sex toy. So here we have Max being upset because we weren't having sex 4 times every time we saw each other, and that I was too tired to do anything. Okay. Oh, but don't worry. Here, Max says it was okay that I didn't want to have sex. Oh, only because I was unwell? And because he'd said he wouldn't have sex with me if he was unwell? So if he hadn't done that, he would think it's not okay that I didn't want to have sex because I was unwell? Never mind. Now, I mean, this is a fucking weird thing to do, but you might be thinking, why didn't you put this in the off section? Because it isn't quite anything in particular, but it is just a bit off. Well, there's a reason for that, because I remember one of the weaknesses, and it was in particular that I was often too tired to have sex, which this has come up now twice, and I just want to say Like, it was very frequent. Even if it wasn't frequent, who fucking cares? But it was very frequent. And so it was like pressuring me for not having enough sex. It's just gross. It doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm like trying to defend myself almost there. It doesn't matter if we were never having sex. You don't guilt your partner for not having sex with you. Like, why was he not concerned if I was tired all the time, like a significant amount that it was affecting anything like that? Why was he not more concerned about why I was tired all the time? Why is it his sex life? Here's Max propositioning me for sex, even though I was, and he knew I was, because that's why he came over, anxious and in pain. That's great. Yeah, that's great. You can tell I'm being sarcastic, I hope. The next section of this, section, is a bunch of lack of boundaries, and a lack of respect for privacy and things like that. So one way that Max would do this is that he would do stuff with my diary, and by stuff, I mean like trying to look into it. There was one instance of writing in my diary. Another thing is that he embarrassed me in front of others. He would also try to guilt trip me into telling secrets. One particular secret this happened quite a lot in. I did not take screenshots of every time, as I've written on one of the screenshots that it was the third time in, the first one in the virtual diary, I wrote that this was the third time I'd seen it. That was when I was like, oh, this is a pattern, and actually that's quite gross. So, yeah, he would force me to try and talk about secrets, and guilt me for not opening up more, stuff like that. He would also read my texts, which I'm pretty sure I have already mentioned, and yes. There was also at least one instance of him looking through the history of my computer. I don't know if that was a common thing. So now we're on to, this is, at least, it's one of the big instances. And I don't think I'm not gonna share what happened. But what I will show is the date and the diary thing for it. And I will also talk a bit about it, but I'll be vague. And the one bit that I'm going to talk about it is that he, without permission, I said no, and he still took a video and a photograph of me. Or maybe multiple photographs, I don't know. But he filmed me / took photos of me. After I had said no to that. And I just want to say, I want to have this video be on the record of me saying that if he, the real Max, who's not actually called Max, ever releases that video, photo, whatever, anything like that, of me, from this instance or any other instance that I don't remember or anything else, I will take full legal action towards him and anyone else who interacts with the photo or video or whatever it is, because I will have you know that that is child porn. I was 16 years old. I didn't know how old I was. I knew I was going to be 16 or 17, but unfortunately since doing this project I have found out the date that happened, and it actually happened before I even had any crush on Fabian at all. It happened on the 10th of August 2012, and I was 16. There was also a lot of biphobia, guilting me for my feelings, mocking Fabian, like I think I said before. I know some people might be maybe a bit confused about why some of this counts as biphobia, but the specific reason is that you need to understand the relationship, is that
we would discuss crushes and things like that. It was all fine. Even at some points, my crush for Fabian was smaller than other crushes, that he didn't have a problem with it. It was biphobic because of that difference, the fact that he had a problem with the one on Fabian, regardless of how small it was, when he didn't have a problem with any of the other ones. You know, things like that, and also just the effect that this had on my mental health. A lot of panic attacks, suicidal attempts, self-harm, self-esteem issues, shit like that. I'm just gonna put this to a montage because it's just too much. You can skip it, I guess, and just, yeah. Or you probably have to just read a lot, but that's, it just doesn't, I don't feel like it makes sense to break these up into separate parts like I've done before. And also there's just way too much of it. I think it has to be a montage kind of thing. So yeah, I'm just gonna do this in linear order, and yeah, I guess I'll put some text up on the screen if I feel like I have to explain any of it. Touch me, don't want to see, they've got me, I can't get out, I must sleep. The fact that nobody acts, I can't get out, I must sleep. My brain's just trying to grieve. Security becomes captivity. Tries to relieve, but it conceives. Cannot get away from reality. No, don't touch me. Don't want to see, they've got me. Don't touch me, I'm not free. They've got me. Don't touch me, they've got me. I actually ended up texting Irene and Diane
because obviously they knew. They came just sitting in the park close to Max's house, because they didn't live that far away from Max. So Irene and Diane came and sat with me and comforted me and stuff. Before I move on from this day, he also embarrassed me in front of Irene and Diane, because he called me and told secrets and stuff to obviously deliberately embarrass me. Oh, the shit show after that. It was a mess. That's how everyone found out. A lot of people. This situation that happened after it all came out was that a lot of people took Max's side. For example, on screen right now, I will be showing lots of instances of friends reacting badly, some of them directly insulting me. Well, the first ones will be people being annoyed that I didn't tell them, and then also people insulting me and being annoyed at me, and also Fabian, and things like that, and also talking behind my back. Well, not just friends, I guess also I was at least friendly with. And there were more instances than were in my diary as well that I remember. But anyway, at least I know I don't need to say this, because I'm not like actively saying that any of these people that I've mentioned doing bad things in this video are bad, but I feel like I want to say this, at least in regards to Jane. She's apologized actually twice and has done it, you know, the right way. There's a lot of people that apologize badly. But yeah, so Jane's complete, and also she wasn't even like this for long. Many people continue to do it for months with Ask FM, which I'll get into later. I know you don't even know who Jane is, but I still feel like I want to defend Jane. There was also just a general consensus in my friend group that I knew I wasn't supported. I genuinely was very shocked when I saw this in my diary, because 4 people I had, like 4 separate people I had this conversation with. One of them, right before I found this out, Max told me that I knew that Jane was hanging out with Max. Jane told me that at the time. From my memory, all I could remember is Max telling me and not telling me who he'd hung out with. But that must be, I must have mistaken it with something else, which I think I know what I mistook it that for, because there was something else that will come up later. But yeah, Jane told me at the time, anyway, who was there. But anyway, regardless, a few of my friends, including Jane, so not just Jane, hung out with Max, and barely anyone was there for me. There wasn't no one, but very few people. Also, even months later, I felt this condemning, because I remember, I don't know if this was months later, I don't know when this was, but I remember going, this was definitely when I was with Fabian. I think we went to Glasgow, and having a crush while you're in a relationship came up, not in regards to me, just in regards in general. And I was like, you can have a crush in a relationship, that's perfectly fine. And you know, there was a joke made of, you know, in regards to the situation of that I couldn't, kind of thing.
people basically laughing at me, saying, you know, calling me unfaithful because I cheated, kind of thing, saying that I can't have a crush in a relationship. So yeah, there was just a general consensus that I was not even supported by my friends, and they were more interested in comforting Max, who had his own friends, so he didn't need that. I'm not saying he didn't need comforted, I'm just saying he didn't need their comfort. I needed their comfort, so yeah. There was also some friends that supported and talked to me through it all. And this got me starting to talk about the abuse. I'm more kind of like, I dipped my toe into the pool.
I was very anxious to tell Penny, but I told Penny. And Penny was actually great about it. She actually didn't ever talk to me about her relationship with Fabian, which I found odd, because I feel like I would have some questions. They actually didn't talk about it, which is fine. They just didn't have to. But yeah, Penny was actually a big help in that. Like, and so was actually, this sounds weird, but Diane's boyfriend. Diane's boyfriend, we were talking at the time, and I don't know how it came up, but I'd briefly mentioned the abuse, but I very much underestimated it, like, because I didn't acknowledge what had happened. All I saw it is sometimes they were a bit pressuring, and so that's what I said. That is, I mean, that's bad in itself. That's not to understate that whatsoever, because any amount of sexual abuse or sexual assault is bad, and it's awful, and fuck whoever did it to you or someone else, or, yeah, like, fuck that. But it's like nowhere near all the full picture or the extent that the abuse got to. It's just what I was able to admit at that time. So I told Diane's boyfriend, he told Diane. I also talked briefly about it with Penny, because I was talking a lot with Penny about trying to figure out who to pick, like Max or Fabian, and with Penny we did like a pro and con list, which I know from friends is apparently a bad idea to do. But you know, Fabian actually found out about that and he was fine with it. To be fair though, I think the problem with friends was what he put on Rachel's con list was just mean. About, you know, that was my coming out, not the way I wanted it to be, but because Max decided to shit talk me online, you know, leaving out all the abuse that they put me through, obviously. Max would publicly humiliate me on Ask.fm, posting things that shouldn't have been online in the first place. First, I just want to show proof there'll be other proof in this, but some proof of Max using my Ask.fm to message me. I don't have any proof of this on his Ask.fm because he decided to delete all of this. Doesn't delete the harm. But yeah, so he decided to say things like on his Ask.fm that also, some of them run onto mine, you'll see. He'll say things like that I'd changed. This was a very common pattern, as you will see in this section of the video. He would keep saying that I changed, that I was a new honor, and this was in a bad way.
and he didn't even fucking know me anymore. And he also said that I fucked him over, and I did not. To me, basically, this comes down to fucking over someone is a deliberate action to fuck them over, fuck their life up, mess with them, like it's malicious and it's a pattern. Like, what I did was too mild, like, instances of cheating and admitting it and apologising and then trying my best to try and fucking make it up. That's not fucking someone over. And yeah, this is another thing where it's like, he made me, like, he humiliated me on Ask FM. He fucking humiliated me. And he would fucking talk about me in the most fucking vile way and make people feel like I'd done things that I hadn't done. Like, for example, how he'd said that I cheated twice, didn't give any context. So people are gonna hear that, they're gonna think I had a full-blown fucking affair. Because that's what I would think. If somebody cheats more than once, I'm thinking, that's an affair. And also, there's no mention of me admitting it. That's why you fucking knew. Like, and apologising and trying to make up for it. There's no mention of that. It's just, I fucked him over and I cheated twice. If you just get those details, and also, again, omitting the fact that he abused me and was continuing to abuse me at this point, then I look like a malicious bitch. Like, I look so evil. Like, I'm just having an affair and messing with this poor little Max who's done nothing wrong. Like, that's what it makes it sound like by saying that I fucked him over and I've changed and I cheated twice with no fucking context whatsoever, that it was texting and a kiss. And I admitted it right after. And tried to repent and tried to make him feel better and all that shit. Don't necessarily know if they're all going to be Max, but even if they're not Max, the fact that we know at least the majority of these will be Max, it's like he encouraged the rest then if other people did this as well. So, like, he encouraged it all the Ask of Him shit by this fucking shit. Because I didn't want any of this public. No one deserves to be cheated on. I don't, to be honest, I don't care. Does he deserve to be cheated on? If anyone does, he did, because he was an abuser. But I'm also like, I don't know. I just wish abusers would stop being abusers, and they should all be put into jail. Or maybe not jail. I don't know. Something. Because jails are kind of fucked. But anyway, he definitely deserves some punishment for abusing me. Cheating? Don't know. I don't really care that I cheated, considering he abused me. This is one I'm not too sure about, but I feel like it probably is. Kept bringing it up. This was obviously quite a bit after. Ask FM likes to just say over 1 year ago, which is very vague. But I say this because I say that Max is, that's the whole thing, Max being out of my life. So that took a bit. Obviously, I do not agree with all the things where I'm saying Max isn't a bad person, because he abused me, but I was not acknowledged that yet. Yeah, every time you talk to me, you sound fake. And I literally named this photo, Max claiming I sound fake and me going off like the king I am and speaking facts. Yeah,
I completely agree with everything I fucking say here. But he didn't fucking know me. And that's what he wanted. He wanted to be out of contact. And that's fucking fine. Actually, that's good. Because it would not be a good thing if he had stayed in my fucking life. So I'm glad that's what he wanted now. Also, that fakeness was probably my reaction to abuse. So here's other proof that, I mean, this one we know for exact facts that this is Max. I think this is after the next screenshot. I feel like this is part 1 of the last screenshot. So we know that this is Max then. That's just not true. I mean, I don't need to defend Fabian, but also he also, even if it was true, I'd said to Fabian how at least the amount of people that people thought he had been with at that time, because I know of somebody else he was also with, but I think no one else knows that they were together, who people knew that he'd been with at this point, like before me, was only 2 people. So that's also really deceitful, like not disingenuous. But yeah, so this is just, again, it's posting shit that doesn't need to be posted on fucking line. I'm not sure how this started. I think that this was Max's doing on Ask FM. But I don't know, I don't have anything with that, but this is it coming out publicly. And it should have literally been between me and Max. And that's it. The fact that this wasn't kept between me and Max, and not even within friend groups, but also it was fucking blasted online, and strangers were fucking giving their 2 cents in. Like this never should have happened. It shouldn't have. And it was part of the abuse. Bringing this fucking shit online when just fucking text me. If you have a problem with me, text me it. Why are you posting it to Ask FM? Again, as this is public, he's making it like I'm a fucking serial cheater who can't be fucking faithful because I'm trying to get Max to be my love life on the side when I did nothing of the fucking sort. And this is disgusting. I don't get mad and I'm sorry, but it's disgusting. This last Ask FM thing from Max, I can't show you the screenshot. You'll see in the diary screenshot why. He asked me on Ask FM if I was over him. And I was like trying to avoid the question because it was a yes, but I didn't want to fucking just say that. So I avoided the question by just saying I'm with Fabian and the answer doesn't change anything, which is true. Even if I wasn't over him, I didn't want to be with him and I was with Fabian, so it wouldn't matter. He made me call him, and then he was saying how he wasn't trying to get with me. And honestly, I'm still agreeing with Diary Honor. Like, that doesn't make sense. Why else ask that question? And again, why ask it publicly? Like, don't ask the question at all because I'm with somebody else. But if you're going to do shit like this, text me. Like, why are you deliberately humiliating me? I know why, because it's an abuse tactic. And yeah, he made me delete the answer. So that's why I don't have a screenshot of it. That's why it wasn't on when I checked my Ask FM. These Ask FM things, I assume, were not Max. You know, people just asking why I, did this to Max and I let him go. And I specifically remember this. Max got so pissed at me for saying that I let him go because I knew it wasn't fair to anyone to not. And he thought I was trying to say that I'd broken up with him. And I was just like, honestly, even at the time, I was like, this is such an immature thing to like, who cares? Like,
that wasn't what I was trying to say, but who cares if people thought I was trying to say that I broke up with him. And I can't find the post, but I feel like I did somewhere. Maybe I deleted it and that's why I can't find it, but I feel like I did somewhere just like be like said Max dumped me so that he like would stop being pissy about it. But specifically definitely remember him being pissy about this, my response to this, which I was not talking about me dumping him because I never claimed to have. And obviously it's very clear to see that this is definitely in response. If it's, it also still could be Max. There aren't any capitals in these, so maybe it is, but I don't think it is. But guys, it's like clearly he was like encouraging this behavior where people would keep mentioning it, or he was doing it himself. Like, either way, it's not good. And then there was also a lot of biphobia. Yeah, I'm pretty damn sure that these were not Max, even though obviously he was definitely biphobic. There was a lot of biphobia on Ask FM, but I could only find 2 instances, and I feel like either there's 2 scenarios and they're both likely, to be honest. I don't know which one I believe. It could even be a mixture of both. I think either one, maybe the mixture of Max harassing me on Ask FM plus these 2 instances and my very unstable mental health at the time. Maybe I unintentionally, obviously, over-exaggerated it in my mind, and so it wasn't as many people as I thought. Or 2, I didn't post everyone. Or I deleted them. Or, maybe these were the least bad ones, and so I did respond to them, and I didn't respond to everyone. I don't know which one it is. It could be a mixture of both, where there wasn't as much as I thought, and my mind over-exaggerated, because everything was going on at once. And also that I didn't post to everyone. I don't know, but I definitely, so you can, I'll put like a picture from my diary of me talking about being affected by cyberbullying and stuff, and so I definitely at least had that perception, and I don't want to say that was necessarily wrong just because I can't find the evidence of more than just these. Yeah, so our relationship ended. But I guess we still tried to hang out and go to LGBT plus together. And yeah, I think the first time we met up after I cheated, he invited me to this, like, I guess it's like a cafe. It was at that point, and every single time that we met up, that he kept kissing me, even though I said I did not want it. When I'd push him off or tell him I didn't want to, he would always get really upset and angry, and constantly use the argument that Fabian could kiss me, so why can't he, kind of thing. Which, not how consent works, because he'd actually asked me if I'd kissed Fabian again since, we'd broken up, and we'd had one kiss since then, like between the cheating, breaking up, and then meeting at that cafe. Me and Fabian had one kiss, and so I said yes, because I'm an honest person. Yeah, so he being Max would use that against me,
trying to use that to sexually assault me by continuously kissing me every time we met up.
I would also use it against him. Fabian is my saviour in this situation in multiple ways, because I'd actually deliberately bring up Fabian when he was trying to kiss me and sexually assault me in this way, to anger him and at least get him off me, because at that point it felt like the verbal abuse was better, like easier to deal with than the sexual abuse. And though I've obviously not just focused on this one in like the first meeting after the breakup, I've also, you know, because this happened quite a few times up until we stopped seeing each other in person, which the last time was actually Fabian's birthday, right before we got together. Before I move, so I've not just been on that day, but before I move like away from that day, I mean, I'm gonna come back because there's other things that I want to mention that will go into like other categories of things, but like a particular thing that happened this day that was isolated that I kind of want to talk about. Well, not completely isolated, but a little bit. Is that, as I, you know, said, I'd been talking to Diane's boyfriend a lot, who was very helpful, and I don't know how, but that had come up in conversation with Max. He found out that I was talking about us with Diane's boyfriend, so he asked me, what about? And the context is that the what about was I was talking about the pressuring sex that Max did in our relationship. Basically, the abuse, but only the amount of abuse that I was aware of. And I did not want to talk about that with Max, and also it was my prerogative to not. But he decided to emotionally blackmail me, and he said, I don't remember what it was, but there was something in particular that he was keeping from me, and he said, I'll tell you this if you tell me that. And this is emotional blackmail. That's manipulation. And so, what encountered next was only what I could describe as reactive abuse, where his manipulation caused me to react in a way, like, there's been so many things that have been happening, but this was the first one where I snapped and I called him a bitch. He took that and kept bringing it up. I don't know for how long, but I have at least one text message, at least one, that was 8 days after I'd said that, of him bringing this up. So I don't know how long he kept bringing it up for, but it was way too long for a snap thing that I apologized about instantly, that I should have meant, but I actually didn't mean. And that's what reactive abuse is. Reactive abuse, if you don't know it, is when an abuser keeps pushing you, and then you reach your point and you react to it. And then it's not the reaction that's the abuse. The abuse part is them pointing at your reaction and saying, see, you're the villain here because of how you reacted. That's reactive abuse. An abuser pointing at your reaction of their abuse and saying, see, you know, sometimes they'll say, see, you're the abuser, but in this instance, he wasn't calling me an abuser, he was just, you know, trying to make me out to be a bad person, for calling him a bitch once in the heat of the thing because he was manipulating me. And also, I actually did end up telling him that that's what I was talking to Diane's boyfriend about. and he got angry with me. It was like he was upset. Like, I didn't talk about this in my diary. There was a lot of things I just didn't write down, and it's annoying now, because I feel like now people aren't going to believe me, because they're not down in the diary. He got upset with me and angry with me, and it was like he was angry, like, how dare I talk about that with somebody else? Like, not that pressuring sex was a problem, but that me talking to somebody else about him like that was. Even outside of our relationship, there was some pressuring to have sex. This then led on to what happened next.
And I still kept meeting up with him because I wanted to have a relationship, because he was my best friend at this point. Obviously that was dwindling very fast. But he meant a lot to me, and I did not want to lose that friendship. I should have wanted to lose that friendship, but I didn't. He ended up inviting me over to his house at one point, and I obliged, but I was very adamant and, you know, very strong on the fact that it was on the condition that we don't do anything. But I genuinely think he knew that I wasn't strong enough, and like mentally, and he initiated sex anyway, and I wasn't strong enough to say no, and so we had sex. Ish. I say ish because that's not really consent, is it? So, because he knew that I didn't want to do it, and my emotional, it was like being emotionally drunk, like, you know what I mean. So I consented, but also did I? But I was also really happy after that because I loved Max. I'd even told Jane about it, and I was being really happy about it, and that was genuine. But then very quickly I was like, that was a mistake, and so saying that angered Max so much.
Even out with the pressuring, and then, you know, putting me in this vulnerable state and taking advantage of that, even outside of this, even my diary entry, which was again written by a very manipulated owner, even it stinks of like manipulation from Max's side, because like he got naked because he like got uncomfortable to be with like clothes on. Like, no, you don't do that. It just stinks of manipulation and like coercing this situation to happen. And you know what, I've not felt comfortable entirely entirely calling this interaction non-consensual. I felt uncomfortable with it because, like, on the surface level, I technically consented, but like, no, I didn't consent to it. I didn't. Coercion is not consent. This was sexual assault. And this is the first time I'm generally, like, I mean this privately and publicly, this is the first time I meant this was sexual assault. It was, plain and simple. It's not a iffy no, it was sexual assault. I would fucking say that if it was somebody else, and I would say that easily. So I'm gonna say that for myself. And I'm also not entirely happy with some other people's reaction. I don't even know who necessarily is included in those other people. There's some of them, but like yeah, I'm not entirely happy with some people's reaction to this. I know Penny was like telling me that I was back together with Max because of this, which, no. That just, it just feels like everyone was projecting this kind of thing on me when I was very clear about what I wanted at the time, and then also what I was unsure I wanted at the time. I feel like I was very clear with my intentions and people still twisted them. But also there was a lot of people, I think Lauren did this, but I'm not entirely I know Lauren did this, but I'm not entirely sure who else did this, where like going to Fabian and like, I'm not entirely sure what their intention was, but they were going to Fabian with this. It's just inappropriate, and it just made me feel very guilty for a situation I was coerced into. I just feel like there was some maliciousness in that. I mean, it just from, there's nothing I can directly point to. It feels malicious, especially like the way that Fabian told me that people talked to him about it. It felt spiteful and not like protective. I don't know, like I could understand maybe why somebody might tell him in a protective way of like, you know, just in case that meant that I was, you know, leading him on and nothing was going to happen, but that was obviously not the case. But it felt malicious and spiteful. Also, just all this slut shaming and lack of boundaries and respect, fucking telling people, like, I, according to my diary, told like 2 people, but then everyone found out because they must have told more. Like, it seemed like I only told Jane and then Penny, but then it seems like Penny then spread it to people that then spread it to other people. It's like, why? Like, I was about to call it so high school, but I guess, yeah, we were in high school, okay. Like, but there's still no need. Even though these are still bad, though, do realise that this video is obviously from my perspective, and these people had literally zero clues that this was anything but consensual.
We went to LGBT plus together for a few weeks, and all this was before me and Fabian got together. And Max would keep kissing me in front of Irene's little sister and generally other people. So Max would, I'm pretty sure, deliberately do that because I think he knew that I would not say no if it was in front of other people and be too anxious. And so Max would just sexually assault me in front of other people, and everyone would say how cute it was, because that's not their fault. If you're one of those people, anyone that Max said that in front of, you weren't to know. Max was to know, okay, but you weren't to know. You thought that it was consensual.
Despite being very confused during this time, I did make my intentions with Max very clear. I constantly told him, though I wanted to stay in contact, that we shouldn't be in contact as much as we were being. This was, as you'll be able to see by the fact that I said this multiple times, and yeah, there'll be screenshots of this. It was very much ignored. And I also made my intentions clear that I wanted to just be friends, and this is also shown by the fact that I had a conversation with Max in which I warned him about me and Fabian significantly before me and Fabian got together.
During this time period from between the breakup with Max and getting together with Fabian, I had decided it was mainly because of this continuous sexual assault, and it was just constant emotional abuse of insulting me and guilting me and being just so awful to me. And I'd been texting Fabian, and Fabian was being lovely, because Fabian is lovely. And getting close with Fabian and getting less and less of, you know, that infantilization with Max, and realising exactly more and more how, like, what they actually were like. And I'd naturally decided who I wanted to be with. Not that I had to decide between either of them, because I could have said, the answer could be neither. But I did want to be with Fabian, and I didn't want to be with Max anymore. Like, not that we were together, I mean anymore, like to get back together kind of thing. So I told Max that I just wanted to be a good person, and I told them that I was, I don't know when, but I probably will be at some point getting with Fabian. I want to warn them, because I felt like that would be better than them just, it just happening and then them finding out, and you know what I mean. I thought maybe that would be better. I don't know if it was better, I don't know, but I was trying to do the right thing there. It's a tricky situation. After which, he physically self-harmed in front of me. And I know I self-harmed before in front of other people, including him, but it was like, it was always like, not necessarily literally under the table, but you know what I mean when I say that, like it's like no one saw, but this was like literally right in front of me and very obvious, like he wasn't trying to hide it kind of thing, which is fucked up, and got really angry with me, you know, which is gonna come up later, him telling me how I felt and things, yeah, he got really angry with me, and I don't know how, because I didn't say exactly how, but he implied I was a terrible person, all because I didn't want to be with him, which does not a bad person make. He also pressured me not just into sex, but to try and get back together with him. Thankfully I stood my ground on this one, and I did not, obviously. This is 2 instances of this happening, despite the previously mentioned conversation that I had. Max would also project romantic, or I guess maybe even sexual as well, feelings onto, you know, ways that I would interact with him that actually had no romantic or sexual intention. As in, anything that I would do that was positive towards him, as in trying to keep a type of relationship, like a friendship, saying that I cared, like things like that, he would always interpret it and project it as romance, because it's like, you don't need to be upset about him because he's not your problem anymore because you're not together. And like, it wasn't, this isn't just like, I feel like this isn't just, oh, he's not in your life so he's not your problem. I feel like this is like, he's not your partner anymore so he's not your problem. It was like, well, if we were to be friends, then he would still be. Do you know what I mean? Basically, that, like, caring for him was equated with romance, where I had to be romantic with him if I wanted to care about him. And not just caring about him, but honestly wanting any type of relationship was projected as romance. And he also at one point even admitted to pretending that we were back together. And also he tried to like tell me, like he acted like we were back together as well, with other instances where he told me not to do spin the bottle next party, which is like, that's like acting like a partner. Like he wasn't my partner at this point. That's a weird thing to do. Like, he doesn't even know if he's gonna be invited to my next party, let alone, like, you know, I can kiss whoever the fuck I wanted. I was fucking single. There were also a few instances where he would say I wanted him on the side of Fabian. So, like, obviously this was when me and Fabian were together. Which, it was for no reason other than the fact that I wanted to stay in contact / still be friends. And I can't see this as anything else but projecting, like, romantic feelings onto that. Like, because why else would me wanting to stay in contact be cheating on Fabian? Why else would that be? So he asked me not to contact him. He had an answer on Ask FM and I liked it, not thinking that counts as contact, because to me, I don't think a like counts as contact. I wouldn't say I'm in contact with somebody if I'm liking their fucking post on social media or if they liked mine. I wouldn't call that contact. All he had to do was message me and say, we'd said no contact and I feel like a like on social media counts. So please don't, literally no interaction with me whatsoever, no matter how small. That is all that needed to be fucking done. But no, he decided to make it out like I'd deliberately gone over that boundary, which I hadn't, because it's just a fucking like on social media. And he says that every time you get in touch with me, it gives me hope and it leads me on, which is what I'm saying. It's like I can't interact with him at all without implying romantic or sexual intention. And that's not, I made that very clear. Yeah, and then it's like, I'm not gonna be like your love life on the side. Again, how was a like on social media me trying to make him my love life on the side? How was that me trying to cheat on Fabian with Max? How? Yeah, you either want to be my girlfriend, again, I'm not a girl, or unless you need help, we shouldn't get in contact because it's too confusing and it was just a like, and I'm probably really overreacting. Yes, you are. When I smiled and felt the euphoria of being in love with you, then fucking text me and tell me not to do it. And don't fucking project, and don't say I'm not going to be your love life on the side, because, like, if it was just the last bit, I wouldn't feel like they were rejecting shit on me. I'd be like, okay, that's understandable. But he started it by saying, I'm not going to be your love life on the side. Which is actually kind of ironic, because he actually tried to make me emotionally cheat with him on Fabian. He would ask me, try to make me answer questions about, you know, if I would get with him without Fabian, or if, like, telling me to, like, you know, things like that, trying to get, like, ask if I'd be with him if I wasn't with Fabian, like, these kind of conversations, which, I mean, obviously I resisted, because I'm not going to emotionally cheat on Fabian with anyone, but especially not him. But again, the point is not my interaction, it's his initial interaction is inappropriate. It doesn't matter whether I mean, obviously it wouldn't matter if I gave in, but it's still inappropriate even though I didn't. He also got very gross and annoyed and upset with me when I obviously refused this emotional cheating attempt. He also demonstrated a huge lack of boundaries by getting really upset with me if I didn't give him a fast response. You know, assuming that I was with Fabian, was like, who fucking cares if I was, because we weren't together. Yeah, just like getting upset with me because I wouldn't drop everything for him, which would be unhealthy even if this was during our relationship. So yeah, he would also continuously try to force me to talk about the situation, constantly going over it, when I don't think that would be very helpful. That would have been very helpful to either of us,
but also with complete lack of regard of whether I was emotionally up to that conversation. I know he probably emotionally needed it, but also at the same time, that's the kind of conversation where you should both be consenting to it and both be able to handle it. And also he wasn't able to handle it either. So, but anyway, it's definitely a lack of boundaries, not respecting that I'm not able to handle that conversation. Also a conversation that always involved me being emotionally abused. I mean, I also just can't believe how many times I said that he'd made me call him and talk to him and stuff like that. Like, I was just being, in the beginning, I wanted to keep in contact, and then it just turned to him forcing it on me. He also made this really gross joke, which I know obviously it's a joke, but also sometimes there's truth to jokes, and this joke is telling after the sexual abuse. This was actually when I realised that he was projecting romance onto me, because he claimed that I was giving mixed signals, which I just feel like that's because he would, do what I showed before. But really, actually, he was giving me mixed signals, like, a lot. So, 1 minute, everything would be fine. We'd be talking, we'd be comforting each other, we've been having fun. And then the next minute, sometimes these aren't one from 1 minute to the next, it varied. But yeah, then in other times, it was emotional abuse, and it was insulting, and it was suddenly like really vile language, and sometimes it would switch so quickly. And I remember he'd say to me that he didn't know where he stood. I mean, I was very clear with where he stood, but he wasn't very clear with where I stood. And that's just, that is a part of abuse, isn't it? Like, that's that kind of very mixed signals of 1 minute you're fine, 1 minute you're next, you don't know where you're gonna be. Like that's gonna mess with somebody, and it messed with me a lot. A part of that is also going to be the emotional abuse that I will show later. He in general would just not stop harassing me, and like a lot of the times it would be to tell me that he shouldn't contact me, which then don't. He just would not stop, and it was just harassment. Though I will say, I also had some problems with lack of boundaries. This was not something that I could easily ignore, where I did get very upset and angry at him for blocking me, and I also didn't want him to delete my number and stuff.
I have a lot of attachment issues as well.
I mean, I want to take accountability for things that I do wrong, but at the same time, like, the abuse is such a big thing that I can't ignore, and I don't know how to stand on this, because if it was anyone else, I would just apologize and not give any excuses, but at the same time, like, I was being abused, and also this, like, all those mixed signals, like, you can't, like, it's gonna cause, like, some effects like this. I don't know, like, so I don't know where I stand on this. But it's tricky. I'm just saying I shouldn't have done that, but yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't know when this part, like, fit in this video, so I'm just kind of putting it here. I'm sorry for all the confusingness of this, but this is a big day, I guess, in regards of the coming out, but also it was the last time I at least arranged to meet and like see Max like in person and not just through text and stuff.
Eventually, it was actually on Fabian's birthday, because I went and I visited Fabian on his birthday. I wasn't having an exam at school, but I went anyway to go see him. And that's actually when a lot of people saw us, like, us kissing and stuff, and people asking me a lot of questions, like about sexuality and stuff, and I was like, I don't know, because by this point, I wasn't even identifying as biromantic and gay anymore. I didn't feel a connection to the words gay or bi or biromantic. Like I don't know, it just felt like the only thing I felt like at that point was queer. And it was after that we had another LGBT plus club meeting to go to. So I was going to meet Max at the bus stop, and then we were gonna get on the bus, and then Max never showed up. Like they said they were approaching, and then they said they left because they freaked out. I don't know why. I mean, I can guess why, because of all the stuff that was happening, but yeah, so they never showed up. And that was the last time there was ever like I think they actually maybe did arrive and then left. Regardless, that was the last time there was ever a meeting in person, even though it kind of flopped as well. So I don't even know if that actually counts, but anyway, regardless. After that, it must have been 2 days later, because me and Fabian's anniversary is 2 days after his birthday. Me and Fabian got together. We had a really lovely date, and it was after he left, because I wanted to ask him out, but I was too nervous, and I don't know why, because we both knew we both liked each other, because we were already romantic and everything. But yeah, I asked him out when he was already left by text, because I was too much of a coward, and he said yes, and so we started going out. And that's really lovely. It's such a shame that me and Fabian's romantic story starts with this, because honestly you take so much out of it. It's so cute and romantic and innocent. I mean, I guess with this it's also like got this romantic side of like that he saved me from an abusive relationship, because I wouldn't have left otherwise. Well, I didn't actually leave, but I wouldn't have gotten out of it otherwise. I don't know. Like, that's kind of generally scary to think about. That's always been something that I've thought of, and thought how terrifying that is, that I generally don't know how long I would have been in that relationship and how worse it could have gotten. It was already really bad. If Fabian never came around, like, he was genuinely saved me. And that's when the emotional abuse hyped up from Lodi Road. Oh, that's their nickname for, I have them, never mind, that's fine. I name him Max Lodi Voldi as like a nickname, and I just was like, oh no, I used the real name. That's not their real name, that's a nickname, so I don't have to say their real name. I mean, well, their real name isn't even their actual real name, because they changed their name, so the name I knew them by isn't, I would still be using a different name. But yeah, so Max was giving me a lot of emotional abuse. On top of the emotional abuse that I was getting at home, both very severe and aggressive. Neither of it was stereotypical emotional abuse, of being a bit more overt, I think is the word. 1 second. Or was it covert? Covert. So, you know, it wasn't like, it was very aggressive, in your face kind of emotional abuse. Well, both of them. It wasn't quite like quiet manipulative things that is more traditional of emotional abuse. Not to say one is worse than the other. Every type of abuse is bad and awful, and fuck abusers. But yeah, and it was so bad. I remember we had, because at this point we'd turned to S6. It might have been like a picnic or something. And we took stuffed animals, I think, or something. I don't know. But we went to this place that had no signal, and I remember being so fucking relieved that there was no signal, because it meant I didn't have to see and respond to Max, because my guilt was that bad that I genuinely felt like I had to deal with Max's abuse at that point, because I deserved it, because of all the hurt I'd caused Max by kissing someone and then telling them about it right away and apologising and taking accountability. I thought I deserved months and months and months and months of emotional abuse. Make it make sense. You can. They said a lot, they echoed a lot of things that my other abuser would say to me. If you want to know exactly what things, you can pause my music video that is going up tomorrow, but it probably will already be up. I think it will be up for you. My Shadows music video, which please download. Please download Shadows. I love it and I'm proud of it. And if you liked Hello, you'll probably like Shadows. I think Shadows is better actually.
This was a situation where I was glad that I went through my diary, because I didn't have the needed context to understand this. This I could only describe as like, it only wasn't gaslighting because I never replied and I just left it at that. I swear because the only thing that this stops us from being gaslighting is that he never called me crazy or something to that extent, for, you know, but then that's because I just left this. But yeah, so he basically brought something up, which was asking me if me and Fabian had sex yet, which is not his right to know, or and inappropriate to ask, but also then freaked out, hung up, and then blamed me for bringing it up when I didn't. He would call me up, panicked, make me comfort him and soothe him and make him feel better, and then insult me, berate me, make me have a panic attack, but then hung up when he felt better. He would also keep insulting me and Fabian and keep saying that we were going to cheat on each other, and that he also said that it would be funny when Fabian cheats on me, and he also, in that instance, that was right after my other abuser had just abused me, and I needed his comfort because of this, and he camped me down, and then he also abused me right after my other abuser had just abused me, and also to tell me it'd be funny if Fabian cheats on me. So on the same night that he was at a party near my house and came round uninvited to insult me and also sexually assault me, after he'd left and got home, he then proceeded to call me and insult me, say that I had not been treating him right after just leaving my house from sexually assaulting me, and to say that I was a bad person, and made me talk for so long that we were both falling asleep.
He would insult me and get angry at me for just not wanting to be with him. And the second screenshot of this, it applies because the so-called promises that I broke were being with him. One time I tried to help him because he wanted to harm himself, and he proceeded to insult me, again with this changing bullshit, calling me a cheater and that I deserved to be a Fabian, which was an insult to him, and yeah, making me out to be a bad person. And yeah, when he calms down, he told me I'm not a bad person, but he had been before, and he had been, like, this is not the first or only time that this had happened, so that doesn't really help after that, so it doesn't erase it. And again, that's another instance of me helping him, and then because he wanted to feel better, and then him making me as awful as he was in the beginning, and then hanging up because he feels better. You know, basically using me to feel better by making me feel like he was feeling. Basically just continuing to insult me, keep calling me and harassing me, you know, like saying I can't help, then don't contact me, and just all this mess, and just making it hurt more than it needed to. I'm also sure, though I don't have any evidence of this, that he would blame me for his self-harm, which is, I mean, it's a classic abuse tactic, similar to that of blaming somebody for if you were to commit suicide. The biphobia from the relationship definitely did not end. I mean, it would be a surprise if it had. He continued to be biphobic. And this last one, the reason I put it here is one, I mean, it's also goes into telling me how I felt, which is gonna come in later, telling me why I chose Fabian, which I think I would know, but also I feel like he's saying that I chose Fabian because it would be easier and like no homophobia, which it doesn't mean no bigotry, because I actually, like I say I wrote in the screenshot, it was actually harder at first. There was a lot more biphobia that I experienced getting with Fabian than the homophobia I received because of me being with Max. But also this reeks of claiming like straight passing privilege, which, let me just tell you, passing privilege is not a thing, at least not in the way that they talk about it. For example, there's different definitions of privilege. There's escaping unjust things, and there's also getting a benefit, and people talk about straight passing privilege. I hate the word of that, the phrasing of it anyway, but the worst part of it is that they talk about it like you get benefits, which you absolutely do not have any benefits of people assuming that you're straight. You do escape some injustice though, but you also escape some injustice by not being bi, so it's a multi-layered system. But anyway, regardless, there's this idea that you have benefits by being perceived as straight, which is not true whatsoever. Also, everyone knew I was bi, so why on earth would I get straight passing privilege for being with Fabian?
I'd say bi, but I wouldn't want to make you angry.
Max would also use my friends against me, and I think this is the part where I confused, where I thought that he hadn't told me who hung out with him, which, well, he didn't, but I found out from Jane. So maybe he did also use that against me. He wouldn't tell me who, but I found that from Jane after. I don't know, but I think maybe I might have confused it with things that my friends would say to him. Like he wouldn't tell me who would say these things, like who had said these certain things. So I just kind of had to guess. And yeah, so he would tell me a lot of things where what my friends were saying about me, and also about me and Fabian behind my back and stuff like that. He would also constantly bring up trying to have sexual or romantic conquests with girls and stuff, and you know, despite me telling him not to do this with me because it hurt me, and I feel like this was punishment for me doing the same thing with Fabian, even though I was actually very careful about Max's feelings in regards to me and Fabian, and I tried to shield him from that, but he would like deliberately bring up these things just to hurt me, which is just disrespectful. But also, this is why this is here, he also would use my friends in this regard, where he would say that he was going to go have sex with my friends. And that's just an extra fucked up. So we've all been waiting for this part. He always used to say that I'd changed, obviously meaning in a bad way. And I had changed, but actually in a good way. I think that the you've changed thing is just that he didn't like that I was standing up for myself. That's what abusers do. They don't like when you stop being passive towards them. And that was the only thing that had changed. Well, apart from the cheating, the only thing that had changed about me was that I was standing up for myself. Like, that was the only difference. But also the important part is that he didn't fucking know me anymore. Like, he didn't. He would also continuously tell me how I felt. These were some things that, you know, maybe it was depression talking or whatever, where he would tell me that I hated him or that I didn't care, which, I mean, it still affected me. It all affected me, and it's not nice being told how you feel. But then there were also instances where he was making me out to be like dishonest. He told me that I should have told him sooner that I didn't want to be with him, implying that, like, I'd been feeling that way not at all, but like, I've been feeling that way for a while, whereas when I decided I didn't want to get back together with him, it was like a little bit before I told him. It was like maybe like a day or something. Like, it was pretty quick. I could check back, but I can't be bothered. The point is that I think he was trying to make it out like I had been dishonest and didn't want to be with him anymore while we were still together, which was not true whatsoever. And I was actually very honest, but he kept making out like I wasn't. There was also some instances of him twisting my words. For example, when I used the words liked when talking about the past, and he thought it meant that I no longer liked him. And also this question on Ask FM. So this was because I said that I didn't fuck him over. So therefore, like I said, I wonder if this massive leap hurt, because he then clearly twisted this to mean that I thought he deserved to be cheated on and that I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know what fallacy that is, but I'm sure that's a fallacy of like two extremes, where it's either this or this, and it's like, well, no, it's something else. It's not that. There's not two options here. There's not I fucked him over, or I didn't do anything that was wrong. Do you know what I mean? That's not how the world works.
There was also a lot of instances of Max trying to guilt me. Sometimes it was him messaging me, guilting me for not wanting to be with him anymore. Sometimes it was about the cheating and about making it so he can't trust people anymore, about me betraying him, and about how I wouldn't love him anymore and things like that. Though there's also a lot of things that I've previously mentioned, like guilting me for the bitch comment and things like that. And yeah. One time, as you'll probably be able to see in the screen, is that he might have done this a few times, but anyway, this time at least, he literally like wrote down a mental breakdown, is the only way I can describe this, where like nobody actually types like that if you're actually breaking down. So I don't know what on earth this was about. I'm not saying he made it up, but at the same time, I've gone through a lot of times where I've been like this, and I just don't see myself ever sending something like that to someone. It seems more manipulative than genuine. And then he also guilted me here where, yeah, I did cheat, and this was like after I was getting upset with, I think, the blocking. One of them, at least, I think it was the blocking. And yeah, they're both not cool, but also like, again, I don't know if me being upset about the blocking is necessarily manipulative, even though it was bad. And also the insulted again was one comment with the bitch, and then humiliated me. That part is for just not wanting to be with him. So, like, again, he's guilting me about these same things. He would use that language, like, you humiliated me in regards to me not wanting to be with him and stuff, and for being with Fabian, and so that's why I know that. But also the last sentence where it's like, I think you want to beat me down so you don't have to feel so bad about what you've done. Like, that's so guilting. Like, that's so, like, which also, like, where is me beating him down? Where? Like, show me. He would also message me, guilting me by, pretending, and I'll explain that, to take blame for it all, and well, not necessarily, it might not be pretending, it might be depression talk, but regardless, I'll explain the hurt anyway and why it's not genuine blame. Yeah, he would blame himself and talk about how he was the wrong and he was the bad person and everything. One instance of him doing this was an Essex picnic where he would keep texting me, and I've mentioned this before, where it was so much that I was so happy when there was no signal, and it just made me feel so guilty, and there wasn't more instances on Ask FM.
So this one, it's him guilting me. He did this as well with text. He texted me that, you know, it's his fault and everything, but it was not actually genuine. You can kind of tell. I can't exactly point out why. I guess maybe because there's no reason. It was always just self-pity, trying to make me feel bad. Like, because if he'd actually genuinely realised, he would have maybe he wouldn't be doing it fucking publicly and humiliating me with this shit. But also, he would be giving reason. He'd be like, oh my god, I abused you, or maybe giving an exact example.
Also, if this was like depression talking, like, you know, self-hate is like, oh, I deserve this, you know, like how I did. I thought I deserved things I didn't, or what, God knows what. And this is again like what I said at the beginning of the video, that even if you could be like, oh well, was Max like deliberately doing something to fuck me up, it almost doesn't matter, because the effect of this is to guilt me. Like that, even if this wasn't intentional to guilt me, if you know what I mean, the effect is always gonna guilt me.
Now, my first exam was 2 days after the breakup happened. So this whole situation, obviously, it went past it, like long past it, but it also was during exam times. This dramatically affected my exams. Even outside of just the whole situation stressing me and obviously making the exams so much worse, he also actively sabotaged my exams and my revision. Like, did things to, like directly, not just indirectly, but directly affected my exams. For example, he, with all this shit of harassing me, would do this when I was trying to revise, and I would tell him I was trying to revise, and he would still not stop. He also came over so that we could both revise together, and he said that he promised that he would revise with me, but instead he took the situation to continue talking about everything that was going on, emotionally abusing me, sexually assaulting me, all of it. And that was the day before my history exam. So much so that I messed up my history exam so much. The paper was blank, mostly. Like, there was the odd sentence out of like essays that we were meant to write. I wish I could have gotten that exam paper back and to be able to show it to you, because you would be shocked at how empty it was. And I'm so lucky. This sounds bad. I am so lucky that lots of people did badly, so they just like gave people, like everyone, appeals that did badly. I apologize for those people doing badly, but if that had not happened, I don't know if I would have gotten the appeal. And thankfully I did get the appeal. And that was a direct result of Max coming over and abusing me and making it so that I not only could I not revise, but also it meant that I'd just been abused following, like, before the exam. Obviously that's gonna have an effect. These are some miscellaneous things that I have no clue where to put them, so I'm just gonna put them here. So this first one is that you know how much I was berated, like absolutely berated, for just having a crush on Fabian, no matter how big it was, and also the fact that it wasn't even a whole relationship, and also how I was berated for being dishonest. You know all that? You know how funny that is? Because he was in love with someone else, and he didn't tell me, and this was throughout a whole relationship. But that's okay. Is it because it was a girl? Does that make it okay? Is it only not okay if you're bi? Because that's the only difference I can tell. Because his crush, obviously up until the cheating, was worse. It was love, not just the last little bit, like for me, the whole time. And also he was not honest with me about it. And now, obviously at the time that I found this out, I was mad because I still had feelings for him. But now I'm pissed because it's hypocritical bullshit. And the amount of abuse I got for just having feelings that he also had, that makes me angry. A lot. He also, after, it's very important that I say that this was after I had told him that I did not want to get back together with him and that I was going to eventually get with Fabian at some point. After that conversation, he decided to tell me, which I feel like is very manipulative, that I was the only girl, obviously I'm not a girl, but he thought I was at the time, that I was the only girl he'd consider getting married to. And that is so manipulative. I'm very pro-marriage. I cried when I realised that I might not be able to get married. And that was something I was worried about because he wasn't into marriage and things like that. And to tell me that after that conversation, that's so manipulative. Like, it doesn't matter if, like, I don't think it was a lie. I think it was genuine. I mean, it might have been a lie, who knows. But regardless, it doesn't matter. It's manipulative to tell me that at that point. It's manipulative as fuck. Now I'm done going through what Max did. I'm going to briefly talk about what others actually did see, which I don't know what they necessarily collected this judgment on, but they were somewhat right. So, some of these includes that Max was using me, controlling, manipulative, looked down on me. I remember, this is from my memory, not actually from my diary or anything. I remember Katie telling me that Faye didn't, noticed there was something off about Max when I cooked the first meal I'd ever cooked for Max, and he just criticised it and was very ungrateful. And also Katie didn't like the fact what Max had given me for Christmas and things like that, because felt it was a very unpersonal present or presents. I also find it really ironic. Both Max and my other abuser, they both saw the other for what they were, and I find that, and hated the other for it, and I find that so interesting. Well, not necessarily hated the other for, I don't know if it was quite that strong, but at least disliked, and I just find that so interesting that both my abusers hated the other for abusing me, whether they knew it was abuse or not. And I just find that so interesting. Then this next part is about the effect on my mental health. Obviously, this is not everything. This is mainly, this is just up until the end of 2013, because that's when my virtual diary stopped. That's the latest point of this part, even though obviously this continues, and even this video is evidence of the effect on my mental health. My Tumblr is an evidence of that. My poetry, my songs will be, my art, there's a lot more that you can find of the evidence of my mental health. But this from my diary up until late 2013, and not everything, just the things that I felt were the most important and relevant and stuff. This is obviously also going to be a montage. So yeah, Max, everything that happened to Max, the abuse, the cheating, everything that went down wasn't the only thing that I was depressed and going through about this time.
there were other things, but Max was the root of my depression. And he, like, even the situations where he wasn't involved in, his existence made it worse. You know, when bad things happened to me, I said I deserved it because of Max. You know, things like that. It's just, it's not everything, but it's a rough idea of the stuff that I had to go through, at least the first half of S6. Also, I don't self-harm because I feel bad regardless of how bad I feel. I actually self-harm because, well, when I do self-harm, it's because of guilt. And I, even back then, rooted my guilt on what happened with Max.
Hello, do you hate me? Do you wanna see me atone? Hello, are you listening? Can you stop twisting my soul? Hello, I know I tried my best, but that was not expressed. Oh, please, could you tell me? Really, any words would be better than none. I don't know, why can't you see that I'm better, better than that? I can't breathe, I cannot sleep thinking that I'm like that. Everyone says I did no wrong, but this happens too much. So many can't be wrong, and maybe I'm as bad as he said. He told me I'm all that I Soldier, 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 soldier boy, soldier boy up in this hole. Soldier, 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 soldier boy, watch me crank it, watch me roll. Watch me crank that soldier boy, then Superman that hole. Now watch me Like a very good lesson in what happened to me is you don't know what happened in a relationship. It doesn't matter if you find out that somebody did something something that's considered bad. You don't know what else happened. Abuse is very common, and also like this was something that I was told like months and months and months later, after there's so much guilt, by the school counsellor. I told her what happened, what I did, and at this point I had still not fully taken into account that I was being sexually abused by Max. So the school counsellor didn't even get that context, and they were like, you were just 17, you kissed somebody and then admitted it right away. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's a mistake, but it's not that big of a deal. Like, yeah, obviously it's gonna hurt, but like this, like the self-hate, obviously I don't know this, I'm just paraphrasing what the school counsellor said, but they said it's an over-exaggeration because it's not that big of a deal. You made a mistake at 17 years old, and then it was just a kiss, and you told them instantly. You told him instantly, and that's so fucking true. Like, it's so fucking true. It doesn't make you evil having one mistake, even without the abuse. Obviously the abuse is very important because I wouldn't have done it without it. Like, that's clearly, obviously, my tipping point. And I'm not surprised. Like, abuse to cheating? Like, oh no. I cheated after abuse happened. Like, so obviously it's important. But even without it, like, the reaction that I got was way out of fucking line, and I wouldn't have said that, I wouldn't have thought that was said that then, but I'm fucking thinking it and saying it now, as an adult, as somebody looking back and thinking that was fucking ridiculous. That reaction, obviously Max being upset and angry and whatever would be justified. I mean, not really after he abused me, but if it was just the cheating, obviously that would be justified. But everyone else's reaction, like, I cannot tell you how fucking awful it was. Like, constantly hearing about people that I were friends with or get on with, talking behind my back, getting very gross biphobic anonymous messages. Like, it was horrendous. It was fucking awful. And I had barely anyone standing up for me. And that's ridiculous, because I kissed someone and then at 17 years old and then told them instantly and apologised and took accountability. Oh yeah, that's fucking evil. It genuinely makes me mad. And also it really, and this next part is why I say that the perceived gender at the time of Max is actually really important, because it comes into account of the biphobia that I got and the absolute ridiculous things that I would hear that people were saying, that some people who did not ever, not even once, meet Max or us together, and they were saying about how it's sad because we were the perfect couple. And I generally think it's because, at least at the time, because neither of us are, but at least at the time we were perceived and like outwardly identifying both as girls. And because, you know, two girls in a relationship are very heavily romanticised, which is great. We love sapphic relationships, you know. A lot of them should be romanticised. They're beautiful. But they shouldn't be romanticised to that point where, like, just because we were perceived as two girls being together, we're a perfect relationship, and me and Fabian are awful, it's a mistake, it's, you know, it's not gonna last. There was a lot of fucking awful things I hear, and also all fucking untrue. Just so many people saying that we were a perfect relationship and it was sad that we were no longer together, and I was like not together yet with Fabian but getting romantic with Fabian just because Fabian's a guy. Like, what? I'm sorry, but that's disgusting. Like Trent, for example, if he had said something like that, I would understand, because he was Max's best friend and we hung out the three of us like a lot of the time. If he was saying something like that, I would understand, because he probably did see perfection and he actually saw a lot. He didn't see all of it. He didn't see the abuse. But he probably thought he saw, like, he saw the relationship for what it was. And so I wouldn't blame him for saying that. But no one else, not a single other person, knew the relationship enough to be able to say anything about it. And God, can everyone stop treating cheating like it's the worst thing you can do in a relationship, because it's 100% not. And that's not to say it's not bad, because, you know, you're breaking a bond. I didn't, because Max broke the bond by abusing me, but, you know, if there's no abuse, if it's just an average relationship, obviously it's bad, it's not good, you shouldn't do it, but you can always change. Once a cheater, always a cheater is not true whatsoever. It makes no sense. Not even once an abuser, always an abuser, because you can always change. Not even, like, you can always change. And that kind of language is stupid, because, I'm sorry, it's stupid, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. It's very black and white, and it also leaves no room for nuance. God, just give people a break. And doesn't mean you have to forgive people if they cheat on you, by the way. You don't have to forgive anyone, regardless. Like, if somebody slights you even slightly, you don't have to forgive them. That's fine. Like, forgiveness is the choice of the victim in any situation. Doesn't matter how severe it is. So that's not me saying you should go out and forgive people if they cheat on you. You don't have to. You can. Just, like, give people a break. Don't assume that you know what's going on in a relationship. Stop fucking romanticising relationships you at least perceive to be same-gendered, and just, can we all just make abusers accountable and fucking hate them? Give them the energy you give cheaters. Like, because it's, again, not to say that cheating isn't bad, but like, if you're gonna give that energy, that like hatred, and you're never gonna be able to be redeemed kind of energy, give that to abusers, not cheaters. Like what? I guess that's the ending. I guess since then, I'm gonna say that honestly, over the next few years, After that, it took me to process everything, not process it because I've still not processed it, but acknowledge everything and see it for what it was. At least based on my memory, I can't say for exact that I remember every bit of abuse, because sometimes things get repressed memories. Yeah, it took me a long time. Like, I mean, at one point, and this was when I lived in our house, and so I was 19 years old. This was after I'd left the abusive situation at home. We became friends on Facebook, and we talked and we were nice to each other, and like, I talked and was Facebook friends with the person that abused me, and I don't understand why. And we were Facebook friends for I think like at least a month, maybe even 2 or something, and then I was like, what the fuck are you doing? This person abused you. And that's when I deleted them on Facebook again. It took me a long ass time, and it was when I was 21, when I realised that one of the abusive instances in the relationship was abusive and what it was. And that's also when I made that video discussing, you know, what happened in regards to that and the other situation, because I, you know, just realised that had happened to me, something that I always thought had never happened to me, but I just repressed it. Not forgotten about it, just repressed it. Everything that's just happened since then is just me, you know, sometimes I mention it, and you know, I put out that video, I write poems about it. I've many times talked about having been in an abusive relationship, and obviously again that video went into a lot of detail. That's why I took it down. Not much has happened since me realising. It's just me continuously having to deal with it, and other abuse, and lots of other things daily. I think I have CPTSD, and just trying to briefly mention it, and no one really cares, so I don't expect people to care about this video. That literally no one apart from me has ever known the whole story apart from now. So, because I've never talked through the whole thing with someone, and that's not right. There's not really an end to this, but that's the best end I can do. All I hope is that Max doesn't abuse anyone else. And my story's out there now. I don't feel like doing this video has healed me, but I feel like it's helpful. It's helpful knowing that my story's out there and completely like not censored at all, apart from names. That's the only thing that I changed, and obviously the fact that I didn't go into detail about all the abuse that Max did during the relationship. But you don't need the details of that. I didn't censor the general idea about how horrific and awful of an abuse that I was put through. And yeah, I will continue to fucking talk about it, and write poems about it, and I'll write songs about it, paint about it, and yeah, because I'm not gonna be silenced like I have been. It's the abuser's secret. It's not the victim's secret. I say that because a lot of the times it feels like when you're abused, it's like it becomes your secret to hold on to, when no, it's their secret. Whew, this is going to be difficult to edit. It's over 2 hours. Just be kind to each other. Thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me just talk about this and finally fucking tell this whole fucking story. And I hope I didn't leave out anything important. I'll have to make sure that I said everyone's fake name. It's not over. It's never going to be over. But at least I've told my story, and hopefully that can help stop it from happening again. It's just a lot. It's a lot. But I'm glad to have finally done this video, even though it took me a very long time.
So we're a month later. This is the last I'm going to say on the abuse in this project. So I just want to talk about how this project has helped me and what I feel about it now. This is basically my last thoughts. So I feel like this video has really helped me. It's put my trauma into a narrative, which is a very helpful way of trying to like process your trauma. It's putting it into like almost like a story, so that like it's easier for your mind to process. And I feel like that's really helped me and do that. It's also helped giving me examples of abuse and evidence for my own sake. And for example, I never knew why, like how he pressured me into sex. I just know that he had. I just had this feeling, but now I have specific examples. So that's one particular like part of that, of having examples. It's also just, it's helped put my trauma and everything into perspective, leaving me to have sudden realizations about things that I never thought of before. Also, editing this project has also helped me see my ADHD a lot, or my probable ADHD a lot, which has given me a lot of insecurities, but oh well. Also, the last thing I wanted to say, I also noticed, even though people, you might notice this as well, people romanticize my relationship with Max, but they also very heavily sexualize my relationship with Fabian, and they're both fucked up, and fuck that. Just fuck that. That's gross. Like, what the fuck? The last thing I want to leave you with is Hagulakamusht. I'm sorry, I don't think I've looked at the camera much this whole video, but anyway. Bye. Hi guys! Welcome to the palette cleanser. I'm using my microphone for this one, so it hopefully has better voice quality. So yeah, the past video had a bit of voice glitches, but mainly in the phone thing, because I'm holding my phone and it's hot. Anyway, we're done. We're not talking about any of those shit. None of that. No, but it's in the past of this video. Now we're in the palette cleanser. We're on making us feel good, right? We're here. We're present. We're gonna have fun. You don't have to watch this part. You don't have to watch any of the parts, but you're here now, so I assume you want to watch it. So let's get into it. I used to be afraid of so much in this world. I tiptoe through each day like some frightened little boy. And one day I realized I can't just run and hide from life. Now if someone pulls a gun on me, I pull out my knife. Sit on my lap like I'm Santa and listen to me.
Face your fears, stare them down. Don't be scared, stand your ground. 'Cause nothing is as scary as it appears. All you gotta do is face your fears. If a bear runs at you in the woods, don't run away. Look it deep in the eyes, put your hand on his chest and say, "Bear, I'm not afraid." If you're in a burning building and smoke is everywhere, keep calm, take a deep breath, and stay right there. Face your fears, run with scissors, 'cause you can fly. Yes, you can fly. Fly out of a window, fly off a building. Just believe in yourself. Face your fears, 'cause the children are the future. Face your fears, follow your dreams. Stare at the sun, play in the street. If you're scared of being, get stuck. Reach for the stars, face your fears. Face your fears. Join the Marines, swim right after eating. War amazing. Like back to front, drop out of school. All you gotta do is face your